We were both virgins when we got married, and we are not going to sugarcoat it. It was difficult.
Yes, it was difficult.
But here are 5 reasons why you should wait before you get married.
God said it, he's the boss. That's it. No, that's not the whole story. The marriage bed is meant to be undefiled. Now, the thing is about that is in here as well as with the body. So, if possible, and in our case, we happen to be virgins, great, but not everybody, that's not the case for everybody, but you're supposed to be undefiled. So, you're committing your whole self to that other person, and that's the way that God would want it in terms of covenant readiness.
Yeah, so why you should wait before marriage is because the marriage bed should be undefiled, not the bed, not your bed, not a bed. The bed is for marriage. So if you're not married, why are you getting in that bed?
Basically.
Point number 2 is that Jesus himself said when people get married that the two become one flesh when you get married.
Yeah.
And obviously when you're, being very intimate with someone, you're like one flesh. And so that is supposed to be inside of the marriage covenant. So even if you're going to get married to that person, that one fleshness is supposed to only happen when you get married. And like what you said, God's the boss, Jesus is the boss, and what he says, that's what is to be followed. Not, oh, well, I just really want to. I'm not going to say it's not hard, okay? Because if you're really attracted to that person, you want to marry them, you're going to have to work at it to not go to that space.
Sometimes cool things down. But the Lord said that the two become one, that's true. And also it says many times in scripture about such and such knew his wife. And there's a certain thing about, I know Deborah, as in with my mind and everything, but there's an extra level that is only meant to happen once we are in our marriage covenant. That's important, it's not a contract, in our marriage covenant together. So, in saying all of that, we must have standards. We must have discipline, and there's practical levels on this as well. So, for example,
love is patient?
For real, yeah. Love is patient, and lust grabs things. So, have standards for yourself, and there's nice things about that, because if you have standards and you're saying, right, I'm going to wait until, then if just so happens that the other person does not want to wait until, you're very likely to weed them out of the whole situation. Yes. And so you're getting rid of the wrong person to find the right person.
People just want to use you for sex and not actually to live life with you, but rather just I want to do things to you.
Yeah, so really, if you're too early with the knowing them bodily, then you've got things the wrong way around. You're supposed to know them with your mind, with your heart, with your spirit, all of that kind of stuff, and know that this person is aligned with you as you go through your life. And then as you start your covenant with actual marriage, then that it's like a lovely gift that's been given to you upon marriage.
I think that's why you hear when people have split up with people after they've had sex with them, it's like such more deeper heartbreak, because you've done such a deeper level of commitment, and then that's been broken, and so you've given yourself to that person, and then it's been broken, and that's not what God intends. God doesn't want us to be heartbroken, and so things about why you should wait for marriage is also to prevent heartbreak. True. Because even if you plan to marry that person, you can't know 100% until you're at, you say I do, and that's when you'll get married. Up until that point,
you could say I don't.
Both of you can actually say, no, I'm really sorry, I love you or whatever, but I can't do this. Then until you're at the aisle, you don't actually know the full level of commitment to the person to saying, I do, I'm for you, and I'm not anyone else's.
That's the one. Yeah.
The thing that goes on to number 4 is that comparison is a thief of joy.
Truth.
When you get married, like I said, it's I am for you and I'm not for anybody else. So if you haven't waited before you got married and you've been with other people, you can both enter into that marriage comparing your sexual relationship to what you were like with somebody else. There's so many things now. I mean, sexualization is everywhere. You know,
Yeah.
you've got to try each other out. What if you're not compatible? You know, but you don't actually have a clue if you're compatible before you get married. Anyway, before you sleep with someone. And so if you're like, okay, I want to try them out, so then you're just trying them out. Is that what your plan is, to just try that person out?
I'm not sure that you can. I don't know.
Like a car.
No,
I
no,
want to
no,
go for a test drive.
I think you can know if you're compatible with this person. I really do. Because we didn't really know.
No, but I think when people say like that type of thing, they're talking about, you know,
test driving the person.
no,
to
but it's
find
like, are
out,
you
but
into the same kind of sexual things? That type of compatibility.
I know what you mean, but what I'm saying is, you're planning. Hopefully, you're planning to do this marriage thing for the long haul, your life. So you're going to find out this stuff together.
Yeah, I don't know why you
would
wouldn't not
hope.
want to do it. Try those stuffs out with people, that a person who has fully committed themselves to you for their whole life, rather than a person who's not really got that same level of commitment.
And if they really don't want to do whatever the thing that is being suggested,
You should really respect that.
reconsider the suggestion. Just remember, number 5. This is not just a physical act. So, for example, when I mentioned a minute ago about knowing your wife or knowing your husband, it's way more than just your body parts touching each other and then ta-da. It's way heavier than that. Sex is not just the act of sex.
It's not just a release.
Yeah, and marriage is not a contract, it is a covenant. And in the scripture, we're a Christian channel, in the scripture, it specifically says how Christ loved the church and, you can repeat it for yourself, gave himself for the church. So that's a covenant act, not just a contract. He gave himself, just the same as I'm supposed to give myself for Deborah, I'm supposed to give myself to Deborah, and the same likewise the other way around.
Yeah, so what
That's a way deeper commitment than just a physical act here and there.
So like in a contract, so people can be like, oh, covenant is like a contract. A contract is not, it's not the same. It's similar, but it's not the same. A covenant it's a lifelong thing. It binds you to the other person. If you look in the Old Testament where people did covenants, they were bound. Even if it wasn't a marriage covenant, they were still bound to the other person, whether that was to do with their land or it was to do other things. Sex is not just supposed to be a contract of consent.
No, it's a serious, meant to be.
And it's designed.
commitment.
I think God has designed sex to be an act to be enjoyed, for one, together with your spouse, where you are able to be yourself and you're free. You're not thinking, oh, you know, what are they judging me? Are they comparing me against this person? Or, you know, am I good enough for this person? And you're not on trial. You're not on a test run. You're not being tested by the other person, but rather you should be able to be at ease with each other and enjoy each other's bodies and have that time together. But it's supposed to be inside of marriage, because the marriage is a covenant. It just shows a lifelong commitment before God. It's a covenant between the two of you, but it's also a covenant with God that I am saying yes to you and no to everybody else.
That's right.
It's not just about I'm having a contract of consent. Yes, I consent to do things with you. That's not the same. It's not the same thing. It's not what God has designed. God knows we are so complex creatures. We're such a complex creature that even you as yourself, you have your body, you have your mind, and you have your soul, and all of those parts are going to be in your sex life.
Yeah.
And so if you just think of it as a physical act, you're missing out. You're actually missing out, because like God's like, yeah, here's this amazing thing, and you're like, yeah, but I'll just take a bit of it.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it, I think.
In the Bible, there actually are several verses about sex, and if you want to know what they are, go and check this video.
Yes, indeed. Bye.